back, so we have questions for each of those three. I'll start with Archaeopteryx. Are file format conversions handled by the JS? The speaker.
Oh. Currently it can read. It can read in two formats. It can read in New Hampshire format, and it can read in file XML. And yes, then you can output it in different. So you can read it as file XML and output as New Hampshire, or vice versa. But currently there's no. That's one of the planned extensions to also add support for the Nexus format, which currently doesn't have. So.
Okay. Archaeopteryx JS again, sorry. What's the import format if I want to use the tool on my data set?
Yeah, it's related to the first question. It's the input format is either the New Hampshire format, which is the traditional bracket-based format for trees, which doesn't allow you to do. It doesn't have individual data fields. You just have a name and a branch length usually. But if you want to take advantage of the more advanced features, you should use file XML, which allows you, every node can have different fields like species, a gene name, link to a database, and so on. And as I said, I will, or maybe if somebody else wants to help me, I plan to add support for the Nexus format too. So then you'll have three formats you can read.
If we can get people, it gets recorded and they don't catch the audio unless it's in the speaker, so the microphone.
There is a microphone over there, just talk right into it, it's really silent.
Yeah, sorry, the question was comparing ZAR to TileDB. We looked at TileDB a bit. I don't remember the specifics of the trade-offs, but yeah.
Okay, another question on the parallel analysis. Time and memory comparisons of your implementation with the current tools. They look like, and I don't know how to say this, is that Seurat or ScanPy?
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe it wasn't clear. What we did is works in ScanPy. The idea is if you just use ScanPy in the correct mode, or perhaps this would be the default someday, you will get these speed ups. And the trade-offs are essentially that it uses way less memory. The point is to leave everything on disk and not have to bring large data sets into memory. And it runs much faster also. The thing that we are adding is using lots more CPU, basically, to parallelize the analysis, if that makes sense.
One more question for Sequence Server. So can I add multiple servers that contain FASTA files?
In one server, you can have multiple FASTA files as it is, and then you can run multiple processes on the same server or computer per se, and use that as well. And if you to use Apache or something, so you can have multiple sequence server instances behind it as well. So that's kind of a standard setup we do. So yes.
Okay, thank you. And I have another question for, actually, do you want to ask? Right, another question for Archaeopteryx. Why is it called that?
Well, I mean, actually, the program has a long history, actually. The first version of the program I wrote when I was in graduate school, and it was called ATV, A-Tree Viewer. It was in Java, and then I kind of made a newer version, which I thought was better, and I called it Archaeopteryx because Archaeopteryx is the first, or believed to be among the first birds. So, but that's all. There's no deep reason to it. I could have just called it panda or bear or something like that. So.
We probably have time for one more question, if anyone wants to ask anything. Okay, can you come up to the microphone? If that's okay.
Actually, I have a comment about the TileDB and R. I don't think these two are comparable. I think TileDB could be comparable to the SQL databases because it is basically data structure that it could represent dense or sparse arrays. And people are developing the R interface for TileDB. So if you have single cell data, maybe you could use their TLDB interface to represent your very sparse data there. I think they're very new. And it's not mature.
It sounds like you're comparing TileDB to R, but the question was about ZAR, which is a file format that I think is pretty analogous to TileDB. TileDB seemed like just a bit less approachable. It's, I guess the commercialization story was like less clear, and so I think in principle we could use it for dense and sparse matrices, just like we're using ZAR, but ZAR is like this open source project that we just fell in with, and it's been working well so far, I think is.
Thank you. I think I misunderstood your question.
Okay, on to our next round of lightning talks, and you're up.